Hi everybody! So, I posted this video with 3 doors. One was chaos, one was love, one was this mystery door where I got to pull a card from this tarot deck here. This is the Hermetic tarot, okay? And I don't often pull tarot cards. I think maybe I've done this once or twice over the years. I had a lot of fun doing that, by the way. I might do that again in this video, I don't know. But I've been really reflecting on that journey. It's interesting because when I re-listen to it, you guys don't realize, but I was still the weary traveler at the end. I was still in this place of sadness and confusion and disconnect. And when I re-listened, it actually was quite clear, wasn't it? It was quite a colorful message that had a lot more clarity than I was able to pick up in the journey state. So I was quite disoriented by all the energy and all the movement and all the change. Well, there's more to it, because that void, that chaos door, was actually a part of myself. And I didn't fully understand that. That door kept calling me back. And I really wanted to tell you guys about this more yesterday, and I didn't have the ability to make this video. So I'm kind of gonna have to talk based upon memory, which so much movement happens all the time with me, and my mind can't hold on to very interesting events for too long before new interesting events come up. I'm gonna pause for a moment. I was looking into the doorway on and off, and that hermit that was in that void door, that chaos door, was me. I was that hermit. I didn't recognize myself. Why would I be attracted to getting this deck, do you think? This Hermetic tarot deck. It didn't even dawn on me. The word Hermetic comes from the word hermit. And truly my life is very much so like the path of the hermit. And I really explore my internal universe in deep and profound ways, to the point that I think sometimes you can change so much if you really embrace growing, if you really embrace whatever is challenging in you in your life, and you embrace it, and you literally let it be the slip and slide that takes you through yourself. You will become so outside the box of this world with authenticity that you might not make a whole lot of sense to people, because in this world, it's what are you really willing to take on? How are you willing to accept your challenges, and how quickly do you want to move through those challenges? That hermit was mentioning at the end of the video, I'll put a link in the description if you guys hadn't watched it yet, about how it was his time to not be a hermit, that the trees were waking up and they were releasing these people, and the people needed guidance. I was thinking about that a lot, about people needing guidance. And he's right. When you look at the world, and even in my own life, I had wanted to find a master teacher. I had wanted somebody to help me understand all this spiritual stuff I was going through, and this calling that I had inside myself for years and years and years and years and years. I just knew I had this purpose to help people, help the whole world, not just one person, help everybody on the whole planet. And I just knew, I would just feel it buzzing inside my heart, like it would gush out at times. And I wasn't opposed to talking to the wall or talking to the ceiling for hours, because I found that was very good company. I found it was a very good conversationalist, the wall or the ceiling. Where do you think that comes from? I think I have lifetimes where I was in a prison for a really long time, or a dungeon for a really long time, or I was in an insane asylum for a really long time, going through the inner workings of my deep, deep self. And it just replays in this world. I remember I used to walk around, and it took many long walks, ridiculously long walks, because it's kind of strange, but once you start walking, sometimes you feel like you just keep walking, and just keep walking, and just keep walking. It's like you're going to walk away from everything. You're going to walk away from this world, from yourself, from everything that is a definable identity until there's nothing left. And then you walk back to yourself, you walk back to your car, and you walk back to life. It's kind of crazy. But on these walks, I used to say inside myself that I felt like I was a blind person in a world full of confusion. And I used to say things like I felt like I was living in an insane asylum. And I felt like I had clarity in a world of insanity, an insanity who rejects clarity, and therefore I would be rejected. If I could say my I am is clarity, and I am clarity is feels as though it is being rejected, then what is the purpose of clarity? Is the world rejecting clarity? And then I would say, well, who am I to say that I know something? Who am I to say that I know something? But can't I give my self-credit for knowing something? Can't I say that all of these mind puzzles and thought processes and observations and feelings that I had are worth something? That then I am worth something, you know? That I am worth something. And the hermit was saying that he had purpose, that his time as a hermit to walk through these many worlds, to walk on his own, that he needed to find himself. Being the hermit guides you to the mastery of yourself. You're not influenced by anyone or anything outside of yourself, because the hermit chooses themselves over anything else. I never wanted to be a hermit. I just kind of became very, very hermit-like in my life. And now his role was to be a leader. I thought about this. If you embraced the life of a hermit, now how in the world would you embrace the life of a leader? You don't just become an opposing side of yourself. The hermit finds delight in their own world. Now how will the hermit find delight being a leader in the many worlds of others? I was reflecting on this. I kept looking back at that chaos door, at that hermit, and I didn't realize it was myself. I had done this journey to do healing for my throat. I've had a lot of throat issues over the last years, like on and off, and it's been getting kind of bad again with my throat, and I don't really know what the conflict is. I do healing on it, it gets better, but it's like I'm digesting something in here, and sometimes digestion takes time. So I can work through this. I can just keep working through this and give it the space and time that it needs, but sometimes it really acts up. And so I was doing a healing on my throat, which I finally feel like I'm over the hill with this, fingers crossed. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but isn't it kind of a strange thing when my role is to be a speaker, and one of the things that I struggle with is my voice? And then I relate to being a hermit who now is reflecting as needing to be a leader and needing to be a guide, must use his wisdom, must use his voice. It's all this stuff is interconnected, you know? And it was quite strange. I'll tell you, when I got into that space, so many things, you guys. But when I got into that space, it was full of insects, okay? And through the insects, there was a skin that had grown, like a snake skin that had been shed as though it was really thin, okay? And see-through. And the sound was so insane, it would just blow your head off if you let it. And there was a strange praying mantis-like being, and some praying mantises are absolutely benevolent, others are quite scientific. And the scientific ones, I've had run-ins that I'm quite angry still about, how easy it is to be manipulated into thinking you're helping only for yourself to get tangled up in something that imprisons you. And you called this person your friend. And we're talking about someone who talks to the walls, talks to invisible people, talks to their internal universe. And yes, I have a lot of relationships with invisible people that are not invisible at all. They're real. We're interdimensional beings. That's what it takes to be somebody like me, is to really open up to what all is there. That's why when I hear the TV or the news, or I see echoes and influences, there's always something beneath the surface of everything. Beneath the surface of everything. Even beneath the surface of you. Beneath the surface of your sorrow is joy. Beneath the surface of joy is perhaps sorrow, and then perhaps joy, and then perhaps sorrow, and then joy. But maybe it's silence, and maybe it's madness. It could be all of these things. And when does it ever reach a point of completion? So I had to take that skin and deduce it down to nothing, which brought extreme relief to my third eye and relief to my throat instantly. And I didn't know what to do with those bugs, because when I looked at them, there was billions of them in there. I got so angry, I just wanted to smash them all, okay? That when I get angry in the energy world, I have to ask, is this appropriate or not? And I'm asking questions about, if one is hurting you, do you not hurt them back? How do you wake people up to the fact that they are abusive if they don't feel pain? To the abuse they're causing, they must endure a sense of trauma in order to wake up. Because those good people that endure so much trauma, when does the trauma stop for them? When you have somebody who's blind to the trauma that they are erupting upon other people's lives, they must be traumatized in order to wake up to who they are. So there has to be chaos at times. When does the chaos finally sleep? When does it finally rest? When is harmony born for everybody? And so I asked my intuition, what do I do about these bugs? And she said, you place golden liquid upon them. So I did. And they all somehow shriveled up, and they released out like an aloe vera type goo, and then their bodies disappeared and the goo remained. And that praying mantis was not easy to get to, because it appeared there, but it was kind of, you could say, in dimensions of places. And anyway, I can't quite remember how that finalized, other than a butterfly woman came by the very end and placed me in these ginormous trees that had no leaves, that they had enormous, incredible grapes, and they were white grapes. And I rested on the treetops, and there were all these massive trees that just were full of bulbous white grapes was their leaves. And I rested so peacefully. It was amazing. I couldn't help but, that was the most special part of that whole journey, was that, all right? I also had this moment where I asked my intuition to heal me. She stuck her hand into my heart and became a vacuum and pulled out all these insects. And I felt so much relief. And I thought, my gosh, don't we get cluttered up with stuff, you know? Don't we go through life and we have to endure trauma and challenge, and we can get lost in it and clutter up with dirt? And how do we clean up that dirt? We have to open up to letting our intuition help us do the cleaning, you know? And I wanted to do that for other people. Make a TikTok, actually, that would vacuum out all the insects from everybody's energy field, so that you could feel as good as I felt. And I made the TikTok, and it ended up having nothing to do with that. It ended up being a 10-minute TikTok. I just knew I needed a long one. And it wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. It was about just massaging the shoulders of another and letting them know that their stress is not for them to bear, to let the stress into my light, and then my light just took the stress away. How nice it is to know that there are people who are truly, truly, truly gentle and loving and caring. This world isn't full of just madness. It's full of really, really, really good people. And good people that wonder if they're supposed to be more coarse and more tough, more aggressive. And I was wondering about me, as I'd always consider myself a very nice person, but I don't like when I'm not allowed to be nice. Because then I have to snap like a snapping turtle, and I hate snapping. And I get pushed and pushed and pushed, and it's like by somebody who's completely oblivious to what they're doing. And then either A, I just disappear, don't speak, or I snap. And then it makes me look like a bad guy, when actually that was just how I learned how to, I guess, not be nice when I have to not be nice. And then I judge myself for that. And I've been thinking about I am nice. And how is it that being nice is going to awaken those who are not nice in this world? That being nice is a gift. It is a very special person who is nice. There are going to be people born into this world that are nice people. People born into this world that are vulnerable to insecurity and become predators and abusers. People who've been abused don't know how to overcome and then become the abuser themselves, have to live with themselves. Where are the solutions to all of this? Anyway, I was so into that grape tree. It's grape. I mean, it's just like this forest of massive bulbous grapes on the tree. It was so amazing. I asked Joe if he could please just go visit those grapes, because I just think he would love it. And it took him to a place that I didn't expect. And he was completely in the dark. And there was a hermit, which was a girl. And that's what he defined her as, a hermit. It was this girl, and she was like a ghost. And she had a lantern that she carried, and there was no sound, completely no sound at all where she was. And there was only expectation that he would follow her. And so he did. He follows her through the darkness, and there's absolutely no sound, and only this lantern she carries. And she guides him through this place. What is there to see in a place like this, right? Until they reach this other place, where there is this suit that she asks him to put on. And he wonders, well, what's the point of this? And she gives him this look like, just put the suit on. And don't ask questions, just put on the suit. And he said it was strange because he ended up taking off what was an old skin and to put the suit on, which made him feel so much lighter. And the hermit ended up being me. And then we were both dancing in a big ballroom full of light. And I thought, well, that was so strange, because the butterfly woman took me to this like vast forest of these trees with grapes, but how you see it is so peculiar to me that I really like how you let go of the skin. Like I let go of the skin in my throat, and in order to receive this healing. And so much still is happening, because I keep looking back at that door and the chaos and the hermit, which I hadn't really connected all the dots yet that it was me. Because the hermit kept echoing something that quite terrified me. And I will tell you what, I don't get scared of the energy world. Zero. Nothing scares me. It's almost like I'm completely neutral to it. I can't be derailed. And what scared me, it really it sparked my curiosity, of course. And I wondered, what in the world does this door mean to me? Even after I left that journey, I was still like a very long time, and it still felt like a weary traveler and all that stuff. And now this door was scaring me, and it was reminding me that I had to open up to learning, growth. And that learning and growth is hard, and oftentimes we don't know what's coming next. And I took kind of a lot of curiosity in what could possibly scare me here. And it was in the middle of the night that I woke up, and I knew I needed to go back through that door. And I don't really know what to say about that, other than I was quite intimidated by it. And I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, because this could be the next 5 years of my life. This could be the next freaking rest of my life. And then you get yourself wound up in learning. It can take a very long time to get through it. And it can be very hard. I'm kind of ready for things to feel a little bit more like a gentle brook. Something easygoing. But yet I still insist on going through these doors and finding challenge and finding and learning new things. It was pitch black in there. And it was me, that girl that Joe saw with the lantern. I didn't have the lantern yet. In that place, it was so imploding, and there was zero sound, that I couldn't physically breathe in the human world very easily. It was affecting me. And it was like it was a glove all around me, this chaos place. It wasn't glowing with any light at all. It was completely black. And I found my way to the edge of a cliff, and there was a big owl. And the owl was treating me like a worm, because I was walking out onto this kind of log piece that was sticking out, and I was going to have to go down there, which who knows what was down there, and how that would impact my human life if I energetically went down there. And already I was having a hard time breathing. I just didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I had to face something that was scaring me in the energy world. What could that possibly be? So I said, okay, I guess this is that, and this is the moment. And so I said, okay, and I decided to get swallowed up by that void down there, where the massive owl was trying to pull me off of that log. And when I got down there, it was even more imploding, even more silent, and there was no owl. But Lucifer came, and he gave me a lantern of light, and he reminded me that in the spirit realm, you don't breathe air, you breathe light. And in a place this dark, you have to have access to light in order to breathe. And that gave me a lot of relief. And I realized that, you know, if Lucifer is the morning star, can I too be a part of that morning star? And is this not my own light that he is handing to me? If it is a light of his own light, couldn't that light also be a light of my own light? Couldn't I be of morning star light? And I thought that was beautiful. And I placed the lantern into my heart, and I started to breathe. And I found the joy of this place was in the silence. Because when the sound is so imploding, you can't hear anything at all, and it is so peaceful. And I've always had an attraction to being in pitch black with complete silence. I used to go in the garage and close the door, and I would just sit there, and I'd open my eyes and be able to see nothing at all and just hear the silence, and it was so invigorating. It was like so therapeutic for my soul. I like to do that. And so I started to realize that I was given the gift of gratitude as well, because I faced something of uncertainty and of fear. I faced something that was challenging me. There's no doubt about that. I was reminded of the light that we breathe in and inhale and exhale in dark places is important. And I felt actually at home. I felt at home here. And it was echoing the girl that Joe saw in his journey, was echoing the hermit that I am and that I was, and this walker of the desolate worlds is what I thrive doing. I love walking in desolate worlds. That's why I'm so intrigued by this. The hardest thing is not for me to do shadow work, it's for me to do the opposing side, which isn't necessarily that hard, but I guess when you get to know yourself to such a deep degree, and you open the door, you get to know others. But how do I comprehend, how do I put this? That's what is my fear. That is my fear. So when I woke up the next day, I was talking to Joe about this, and he was saying, well, of course, Abby, that is a part of your own heart that you were walking through. And I said, how come that never dawned on me? That seems quite obvious, doesn't it? And that the light was brought back to that part of my heart. And when he was talking about this, that whole world started to be, the sun was rising. The sun was rising in that world. And that world was warming and the trees were coming back to life. But the trees were people. And that whole world was changing, and there was an ocean there. I didn't tell you about this because when it was cold and it was imploding and it was silent, I touched this ocean body and it was a real person. I didn't know what to make of it because I didn't conceive of this as a place of myself. And it was asleep. The big ocean was asleep. And then when the next day Joe was mentioning about my heart, and then I was looking into that space and the sun was rising, it was like, wow, that came full circle so fast. And this amazing kind of ocean was in motion, and it was a living spirit body, and there was this amazing, basically ocean palace that appeared on the beach in the water. It was incredible. It was like it was made out of glass, and it was just shining with light from the sun. Everything about this was changing. What is that saying about me and my path? What is that saying? If I go through this door of chaos, I find an aspect of myself. I go through this process of facing the unknown to learn and grow. I go through this welcoming of the light, changing the entire atmosphere of this whole world. Isn't the world of a hermit anymore, is it? That's what that hermit said. That things were changing. The hermit was being called to embrace people. And if there's a parallel here, isn't that what I've been doing all along? So there's another side of this story, which is a bit of an odd condition that I developed. And it's part of a rejection process as well. So at a young age, I was asked to write thank you notes every time I received a card or a gift. And that sounds like a great idea, right? It's a really responsible thing to do, and it's the right thing to do. But for some reason, it developed this anxiety in me about I couldn't receive the gift without the responsibility of writing my gratitude on this card and then figuring out what their address was, putting the address in, doing this whole process from like age 5 up. Everything I ever received. I started to not want any presents, any gifts. I didn't want anything from anybody because I didn't want to have to be responsible for thanking them, because I could never figure out how to properly say thank you, that it could be enough, okay? Because if I could just say, oh, thank you for this, signed Love Abbey, that would be done, right? But no, I have to say thank you. Why am I thank you? How has this made a difference in my life? I appreciate it so much. I hope you are very well. And it was like on, and it was like I started to not really understand how to just be myself. I had to be this structured perfectionist of how to express a perfect aspect of gratitude for something. And I started to develop severe anxieties about this. Like, I didn't want anybody in my life now. I didn't want any presents. I don't want to, because I can't do this. And I made a decision in college that I simply can't write thank you notes, and it's not my fault. I don't know why that this trauma developed in me, but it also developed a trauma when it comes to perfectionism and writing. And I will sit there and write and write and write and write the same paragraph, and I'll rewrite that paragraph, rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. I even like anything that I have to respond to, because I struggle with a balance between, I become overly grateful, like to the point I'm so overly grateful I can't even find words. Like it just breaks me, rips me apart inside. I just want nothing to do with it. So I got to thinking about this condition that I developed, how it would inspire me to push people away, because people themselves are gifts now. And how would I ever be able to receive people? How would I ever be able to receive it? This just sounds pretty complicated, right? Why would I ever let this get so complicated? I guess maybe I'm just a complicated person. I don't know. But I think there's something to all of this, you know? There's something to all of this. And the journey that I'm on, my life path, the doors that I just went through in August, what I've experienced just this summer, if we're talking about, you know, human ascension or energy movements, and we're collectively growing together. And I have my own story in this big story, okay? You have your own story in this big story. And I mean, you could say maybe I'm overthinking, but maybe I'm not. Maybe that's just what I do. So I have other things that I was going to talk about. Maybe I don't need to say anything about that right now. I'm just going to pause for a moment here and see if that's where I want to just stop my video. Well, the thing I was going to tell you guys was there's the series on Netflix. I'm like everybody else. I like a good story, okay? And I like to watch it on TV, just like everybody else. And it's called The Sandman. It's a darn good story. It's a darn good story. I was very overwhelmed, this is just open, honest opinion, by how much sexual content there is, but I wasn't necessarily, I thought that the color of the characters and the very many peculiar faces of each side of this story of the character of Dream, which I absolutely love the character of Dream. Dream to me represents somebody who takes responsibility for the divine rules and balance of the universe amongst so many who can't comprehend what those rules are. And if he were to become lost, if he were to reject those divine rules, then it could collapse that part of the universe of the value of dreams. And he has to stay strong in who he is completely, okay? He has to completely stay strong in who he is, as he is. This concept comes up throughout the show, is being who you are, who you were created to be, the challenge of being that, and how we actually change in time. Even watching Dream's personality opening up to a new side of himself as time passes and he learns and grows. Even this cosmic being who learns and grows can't maintain the solid presence of himself as he was originated, but grows into something I think is more genuine to the rules that he works with, more authentic. Anyway, I was thinking about if I were created by God, and God created me for a very specific purpose, and my role is to be true to who I am completely, then who am I completely and authentically? If I say I am nice, and then if I say I am a snapping turtle, or if I say I am a hermit, or if I say now I'm becoming many complex sides of God's many faces, and it just keeps getting more and more and more and more complicated. And so I've been really thinking about what it means to actually grow, what it means to be authentic, what it means to really live for yourself or as yourself. So I guess the final message that I was wanting to tell you was something I've been reflecting about, is all I can be is genuinely who I am. So if I was traumatized and impacted by thank you notes or writing, if I was impacted by perfectionism, if I was impacted, you know, and it molded and shaped me into these challenges, if I was impacted by this chaos, or all this stuff is my story, is my identity, you know? So I'm going to pick a card, any card. We're going to do this thing together. I really like this. You know what I like about tarot, or just any of these kinds of cards, is that it's kind of like it is what it is. So if I pick a card here, which I'll do, I'll explain what I mean by that. Let me see, what question do I want to ask this? Let's just ask it, if I were to pick a card to identify who am I today, Then let's see what card wants to be the card that I'm supposed to pick, because you can't pick the wrong card. You'll always pick the right card. And that's the card that I am meant to contemplate, is to define my identity today. All right, you ready for this? Okay. It's called Temperance. Look at that. That's fun. The daughter of the reconcilers. That is my identity, is temperance. Daughter of the reconcilers. Can't deny, that really gets you thinking, doesn't it? All right, so I just picked this card, and it is exactly what it is, but obviously you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into what in the world does that mean. But it gives you something to work with. It's not... You don't have to allow your imagination to formulate a concept and then you wonder if that was the right concept or not. This card is exactly as it is. You know? And so it gives you kind of a, I guess, a foundation or a grounded place to put your feet and say, okay, we're building upon this meaning here when it comes to psychic stuff. So I really understand why people like tarot cards. Okay, so... And I'm just going to read here, because I just like, I like reading about the actual picture. This is a very small book of explanations, okay? But I also like reading, it says meanings. Realization, combination of forces, temperance, moderation. You can't deny it's a pretty good fit for this conversation, isn't it? I'm just digesting this right now. Shall we give this just a few more minutes? I'm going to go through a doorway that looks just like this card. I already put it back. It was daughter of something. I thought it was an interesting word. Daughter of the reconcilers. It was a weird thing to say. Makes sense though. Daughter of the reconcilers. The temperance doorway. So if I am temperance, I am the temperance doorway. I'm just standing in a space full of white. So they just say the meaning is complete with me. The meaning is complete with me. Daughter of the reconcilers, the temperance doorway, here I stand, and the meaning is complete with me. All right, you guys. That's what we get. That's what we get. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. It's a little look into the day in the life of myself. Hope you're all doing well. And look forward to what we discover next.